expectation that I can put on men to do better can come across to men like I think that women are perfect.
Yes.
And that is not what it is. I put the expectations on men because as I've said before, my personal value is that I believe that the man should be the head of his household, right? And when you're the head of anything, you shoulder the burden of responsibility, right? And I'm not saying every man wants to be the lead of his relationship or his family, and I don't think every man has to be. I don't believe that at all. I'm just speaking to the ones who have that expectation. You have to understand that you have to get comfortable with responsibility, right? Everyone, welcome to the Couples Development Podcast. My name is Melissa Rochelle, and I'm a relationship coach.
And I am Coach Clark. I am the co-host of the Couples Development Podcast. Welcome, everyone.
So, what do you want to talk about today, husband?
What I want to talk about, what I'd like to talk about today are the pain points of men. A lot of things that men have been complaining about in the dating world, the dating scene, about their frustrations with women. And I'll start with the financial thing. So a lot of guys feel like, especially if a woman is consensuously, beautiful or highly attractive, unless he has a certain amount of money in the bank or rich or whatever they want to call it, whatever their version of it is, they shouldn't even approach her. So how do you, and they're saying that a lot more women are materialistic nowadays. So how do you feel about that?
I'm not sure how I feel about that. It sounds self-imposed to me, like telling yourself you can't approach someone because of whatever story you told yourself in your mind. You may have had experiences in the past where that was true. That doesn't mean it's always going to be true.
Look, I understand what you're saying. It's a limiting belief to be like, I can't approach her, but let's go this way, right? So for example, men, for example, if a woman says, "Oh, Cheesecake Factory, I'm worth more than that." How do you, in terms of that, how do you feel about that? First of all, do you love Cheesecake Factory?
First, we're talking about first date, right?
Like, oh, he needs to take me to a 5-star restaurant to impress me, type of thing.
I don't know. People just say things that just don't make sense. If it's the first date and he should take you to a 5-star restaurant, then he's taking other women on first dates to 5-star restaurants, which means how special are you, right? Because he doesn't even know you yet to even feel like, oh, I want to do this thing for her. So I think it's odd. And I think for the most part, women ask to go to 5-star restaurants, things like that on a first date, not necessarily because she cares about the guy, but more so she can have something to brag about or something to post on her social media pages, and so that she can feel worthy. So she's looking for her worth in his pockets. Wow. So it's more so like there's an internal worth that she's not feeling. Does that make sense?
I've never heard it said like that before, but that was a bar. Yeah. Interesting. So she's getting her worth from his pockets.
Right.
So it's like, oh, you need to take me shopping type of thing. Yeah. Or you need to buy me a bag.
Yeah.
And so stereotypically, it just seems like the stereotypical, Black woman, number one love language is receiving gifts. That's what it seems.
But it's not true.
Right.
Like, no, for women, you'll find mostly like words of affirmation. You might find physical touch, and a lot of men confuse what physical touch means, a love language. They think physical touch automatically equals sex. But when we're talking about physical touch, we literally mean other types of touch other than sex. I mean, sex would be a part of it, but it's just other like hugs, kisses, cuddling, and all of that. And even for the love language receiving gifts, it's not just expensive gifts. It's just little things that show me that you're thinking about me. You know what I mean?
Right. So. But what I'm saying is again, social media is a fake place, but it's affecting reality quite heavy, especially people's minds. Meanwhile, the loyal, faithful dudes who just go to work, take care of their families, love their wives, love spending time at home, blah, 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 whatever, they're quiet. They're not really out there. It's kind of like, remember we're in a therapy session. I remember I had that issue before where I'm like, I'll get you something and you'll be like, thanks, babe. And then you'll see on social media, a woman got flowers and she's like, oh my God, my man loves me so much. And oh my God, look at all these balloons and da, da, da. And then I was like, and then I had beliefs like, man, I had limiting beliefs. I'm sorry. Like, man, like how come she doesn't really, what do they call it? Post me or show, I forgot the word. Like, basically post me on social. And I remember there's a thing we were watching where a girl was bothered that a man didn't, thought it was a red flag that he didn't post her online versus thinking maybe he's just a private dude and he's dating you and his purpose of dating you is not to let everybody else know who he's dating. Right. And so, I was going somewhere with that. And
in a therapy session.
Yeah. In the therapy session. Yeah. Like I was saying like, hey, how come, I don't really see you doing those things. And the therapist had a good point. She was like, well, Clark, the happy women are too busy being happy with their husbands and not necessarily caring about impressing other women who aren't married and who aren't happy. Or who are, you know what I mean? Happy women are just doing their thing. Happy men are just doing their thing. Happy people are online trying to gain validation.
Yeah, there are actually studies done on that. Couples tend to post more on their social media pages when they're unhappy in their relationship.
Really?
Yeah, because they're kind of looking for.
Do you remember what study that is?
I can find it and share it, but right now I can't.
You can't tell you in this video. Put the link or something.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Definitely do that, but it shows that.
That's great.
That they're more likely to post. Oh, look at us. Because it's almost like overcompensation for what's actually happening in their relationship. So I would tell anyone, don't judge people's relationships based on what you see on social media. It's even though it sounds like common sense, but a lot of us do tend to believe the things that we see, that this is actually, how this couple feels about each other, when they post certain things. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. Are you in a relationship with someone because you want to be happy in your real life? Are you in a relationship with someone to have things to post on your social media pages? Which one is it? I'm not saying there's something wrong with posting your significant other or your partner. That's fine. But to turn it to give it more meaning than it actually has can be troublesome in a relationship.
And then you have to keep living up with it. Like we got to post something else. It's like they're living for the approval of other people with likes to kind of make them feel like their relationship is okay when they don't really feel that way. Is that kind of like what it is, or what's the reason do you think people do this?
I think people do it because we are currently society's in a place where we are just people that don't feel good enough are just running rampant. So now you take something like social media. Okay, I can use social media as a Band-Aid to cover up how I'm actually feeling on the inside. I think that's what's happening versus people learning how to feel their worth intrinsically. They're looking outside of themselves to feel worthy or to feel like they have value. And it's doing more harm than good, so I feel like we got really off track there. So I don't know.
No, I think it was good. Like we're talking about pain points and men complaining about money and everything else, which is again, like I said, it's all over social media. It's like, again, there was a list of places men shouldn't take you out to eat.
Yeah. But I think men tend to confuse the nonsense women say with what his worth is. And they don't know how to tell the difference between the two. It's almost like if a woman says, I need a $500 dinner on the first date, he's going to feel like something's wrong with him because he can't afford that versus seeing that something's wrong with her, that she even has that expectation in the first place.
And just leave her alone.
But he'll tend to internalize that and think, oh, something is wrong with me because I can't afford to take
it out on all women.
Right. And then take it on all women because I can't afford to take you to a $500 dinner. And it's also absurd because these things are supposed to be special, right? So if on the first date he takes you to a $500 dinner, where do you want to go if you start dating on your anniversary? On your first year anniversary, where do you want to go? The same place you went on your
Paris.
First date? Like it's all nonsense, and people just keep buying into it and believing these things that people say. It's absolute nonsense.
Where do you think is the best place? Where do you think is the best place for a man to take a woman on a first date? And yeah, I'm gonna have a multiple part question on that, but where do you think is like to start with?
Well, there's a few things. Number one, I personally believe that a man on the first date should take the woman to a place that shows a little bit of himself. Okay. Versus men tend to approach dating like, oh, where should I take her to impress her?
Yeah.
Right? Because in his mind,
nature. The birds, well, let me explain. Like we saw that science thing, the bird was dancing and performing for the other bird. Like it's nature. Like
no, that's not nature. Because in nature, the man is showing his authentic dance to her. He's not making it up and pretending, right? He's showing his authentic performance.
Got it. And she either accepts it or she doesn't.
And she either accepts
she doesn't
it
accept it. She goes away. He does it for somebody else.
Right. He does it for somebody else.
Shift himself.
He does not change himself to whatever it is that she likes. So I can say that to men and say, hey, take her somewhere that truly shows who you are. Now, if she doesn't like it, that's on her. Yeah. Right? Every woman is not going to be for you. Right? Yeah. Every man is going to be for her. And that's something that I understand is hard for men to understand.
Their ego is very fragile.
Right.
They hate rejection.
Right. But you're still being rejected because you're pretending to be somebody that you're not. Yeah. So she's not liking you. She's liking whoever you're pretending to be. Yeah. So you're still being rejected any way that you look at it. So you might as well take her somewhere that shows this is who I am. And if she doesn't like it, okay, she doesn't like it. Cool. There's going to be somebody that does like it. Right?
Yeah, why wait? Random couples, how did they get together? Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's. I think men do themselves and women a disservice when they play the pretend. Like, let me figure out how to impress you, because you can't sustain that long term.
You can't sustain manipulation.
You can't sustain it long term. That's what it is, manipulation. Yeah, there's no way to do that. Eventually, the real you is going to show. Eventually, your bank account is going to show that you can't afford $500 dinners every time you take her out, on a date. And as I said before, I think it's absurd for women to expect a $500 dinner on a first date, because then you are not special. He hasn't even gotten to know you yet, right? To say, oh my God, I really like her. Let me take her to this great place. You haven't even given him the opportunity to get to know you yet, right? So it's I don't know. I get it, because the whole point is not about him or how much she likes him. It's about, what can I tell my girlfriends? I got to tell my girlfriends he took me here, he took me there, he did this, he did that. And while I'm on the subject, nothing irritates me more than hearing men that say that they pay for women's hair and nails to go on a date. That is absolutely absurd. You should not be paying for somebody's hair. Like, she is not your wife. You should not be paying for her hair and her nails. She is not your committed long-term girlfriend. It is absolutely absurd for you to be doing that. It just doesn't make any sense. So it's like I was watching which podcast it was, but where a woman was like, if you're going to go out with me, my time, my makeup costs money, my time buying the makeup costs money. So you need to basically pay for my hair and nails so I can look good for you, type of thing. Like, yeah. Yeah, I'm just happy I wasn't born male, because I can be petty. Because I would ask her to let me know exactly, like, how much is the foundation? $40? Okay, how much of that $40 do I have to pay for it? How much of this foundation did you wear to work this morning? How much of this foundation did you wear to brunch with your girlfriends? Like, tell me how much of this foundation I actually have to pay for. Because you didn't put the whole bottle on your face for that $40, right? You didn't. So it's absolutely, these things, it's just absurd. Yeah. It's absurd. Are you dating to get to know someone, or are you looking for a father to take care of you as the father that you never had, to pay for your makeup, to pay for your hair, to pay for your nails, to make you feel special? Like, which one is it? Are you looking for a partner? You understand what I'm saying? Because that's how it comes across to me.
I didn't want to hear that one.
No, but that's how it comes. I'm just saying that's how it comes across, right? because you're dating to get to know each other. That's why you're dating each other. You're not dating each other for money or for sex. And if that's what you want to do, be upfront about it. Say, hey, you buy me this bag, I'm going to give you this. Both of you be upfront and direct about it. But at the same time, I do think that men's complaints about money are, they're valid, but at the same time, I think they're a little bit exaggerated, because while they're complaining that women want money, they also are complaining that women are too independent and don't need men. So it's like, and those are two opposite things. So I get it, where it's like, oh, they just want your money. But at the same time, you don't want them to want your money, but you don't want them to be independent either.
So which one is it?
So what is the ask? Like, what are you asking women for exactly? What do you want from them?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So, like I said, back to my question, because I understand what you said. What if you would advise, like, for example, our singles that we coach, where do you, after they work on themselves and they have a first date, where would you agree would be a good first date to take? You said that for them to show themselves. Like, for example, me, I think a coffee date in the daytime where you can see each other and it's not a bunch of noise and you can literally look at each other and talk face to face, I think is the perfect first one. And the reason why I think that is because, well, it's projection, it's assumption, but you can learn a lot from someone. If she's like, coffee, I'm worth more than that, it's like, oh, cool, all right, I'll call you back. You just don't, right?
Yeah.
Where she's like, all right, cool. Oh, for example, lunch or something, right? While she's working. To me, it's also look, your 30-hour lunch break, meet up, because she's working, you're working. It's also practice for being a couple too, because a lot of couples, they have their lunch break, and the time they see each other in the middle of the day, they go have lunch together and they go back to work, right? So, and I think that it's not, you're not eating anything expensive. You are not eating a bunch of food. You have time to converse. You have time to talk. So I think that's like a great first place to set, to meet face to face. I don't know. What would you?
Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing. I think that for the first date, the man should choose something that aligns with his personality. That's what I think. And something that's affordable for him. Something that he's not going to constantly have to compete on different dates. Or how do I make this better? How do I make this better? Like, you're going to hit a financial threshold at some point.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. And a lot of men will hear that, be like, oh, but what if she doesn't agree to a second date? It's like, well, but you just answered your own question. She's not for you. Yeah. Right. But then it's like, well, then I can't get any. Okay, well, you're answering your own question. So what is the ask at this point? Oh, women don't want us for us, but we want to pretend to be somebody that we're not because we want to get some. Okay, then what is the ask? What are you asking for?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are you asking for exactly? Like, what is your question? Because you can't force people that don't like you to like you. All that we can do is look for people that do like us. That's about it. So I think on the first date, the man should genuinely pick some place that shows his personality. Now, I will also say that if he's a very adventurous man, he should also consider the fact that she is a woman, right? So you need to let her know in advance if you're going to go, whitewater rafting or something, that she's not getting her hair done and her nails done, putting on her makeup, and she's sitting in the raft with you and her lashes are flying off, because that's not going to make a good date. So you have to be mindful of that as well. Yeah. But I do think that he should choose something that shows his personality, because then on the second, if she agrees to a second date, that's a big win.
Versus, that means she enjoyed the first one.
That means she enjoyed the first one. She's into you. Yeah. She sees something in you. And then maybe on the second date, you can be like, oh, I want to take you someplace you'd like to go. Where would you like to go? And on the second date, you can take, and then you can kind of go through this process of getting to know each other better in this way.
And that's a good way of setting up the relationship too. Like, he leads.
Right.
And then he's like, hey, well, it's not all about me. What would you like to do this time? And then back and forth.
Right. But you see how you just said that he leads. That's why I personally, again, this is personal opinion. Everyone should do what's best for them. Personal opinion, I personally do not think women should ever pay for dates in the dating phase. And this is something that I get a lot of pushback from and they don't like to hear that.
Yep.
But the reason is because the same reason why you just said the leading thing. You're setting up the dynamic in a particular way. You're setting up the dynamic where you are leading this relationship, because you are the one paying for the dates. You are the one saying, hey, on our first date, I'm going to take you to a place that I really like. And if she agrees to second date, where would you like to go? I want to take you somewhere that you would really like. It's you, right? It starts the relationship from the beginning with this dynamic of I'm leading this relationship. But on the other end, if you want her to take the lead, you can't at some point expect that she's gonna fall back and be like, okay, now you lead now. It's not gonna happen, right?
You're teaching her how to be treated and how to treat you.
Yeah, you're setting up the dynamic. Now, that doesn't mean he should always pay for everything into eternity. What I'm saying is through the dating process until they are fully committed to one another. Whether or not they decide to get married is another thing, because not everybody gets married on paper. But once they are fully committed, then two becomes one. And then what's hers is yours and vice versa or whatever. But I think in the dating process, it absolutely should. Now, that doesn't mean she can't, say, hey, babe, I cooked you lunch today. Of course she can. And of course she should. But that's very different than setting up that dynamic when you're dating each other, that she's taking the lead and she's taking the check and paying for it. Right. That's and there's some women who take offense to that. They're like, oh, well, I want to pay. Okay, cool. Do you? But just as long as you understand that there's going to be a certain type of, it gets complex, I guess.
Segueing into the pros and cons of feminism. Modern feminism, not like, hey, you can vote, you can work, but so I forgot what it is you said. I kind of want your thoughts on that, how feminism has been both positive and negative for women. Yeah. Please elaborate on that.
It's been positive in that it's given women free reign over their own agency. So that's positive. But it's
for people who don't know what that is. Like, explain the agency.
So we need to decide for themselves what they want to do, whether they want to be a stay-at-home mom, whether they want to have a full-time career, whether they want part-time, whether they, they get to decide for themselves. They have the freedom to choose. Yep. But on the other end, it's also harmed women in that women have now been conditioned in a way where they believe that they don't need men at all. But at the same time, internally, they're in pain because they do want a relationship. We're kind of designed to want a relationship. We just are. So I think feminism has harmed women in that way. They didn't do a good job at, like we said in the last video, fixing what doesn't work and keeping, what does work. I just don't think they did a good job at it.
So okay. So I think you mentioned the good thing. So the I don't need a man thing, right? I remember I was in a group chat and somebody said, like basically like, I don't need a man and I can take care of my own. I'm independent. I'm a bad bee, whatever. But you better not take me to Cheesecake Factory though. Yeah. It's like, doesn't make any sense.
It's incongruent. Like,
pay, I can do battle by myself, but you better pay for my meal. Yeah. That's another complaint men have. Like, it's like, which one? Wait, I thought you wanted, equality and how come you don't open my doors anymore? Type of thing. It's kind of like what I'm saying is there's, do women have to have an honest conversation with themselves about the things they've lost from the modern, how should I say this? Interpretation of what feminism is. As opposed to what they gain.
Yeah, I think that's necessary, and I think we've lost a lot, actually. Like, women now are wearing themselves out. There's something interesting to me about feeling like I'm empowering women by telling them to work a full-time job outside the house and to also work a full-time job inside the house and to also have children and to also take care of your man. Like, that's who can take on all of that without being completely burned out. It's impossible, right? Like, there is no men's movement where men are fighting to do more of the housework, right? Men are not out here talking about, hey, no fair. How come, how come we don't get to mop the floor and vacuum the rugs and like do the dishes and do your laundry? They're not doing that. They don't think male empowerment is wearing themselves out more. Male empowerment for men is, how do we do a little bit less and conserve our energy? Damn. Versus for women, we've been conditioned to think that it's empowering to do more, to wear ourselves out more.
To be super busy.
Yeah, to be super busy, and it's backward, right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So
yeah, men want to acquire wealth so they can work less.
Well, some, not every.
Yeah,
like it's not
but
every,
even though
but
acquiring wealth requires more
right.
hard work.
It's not every, but it's just an odd dynamic. The whole I can do everything, but have you ever stopped to consider why that feels good to you, to feel so burnt out, to like,
or does it feel good at all?
Or does it feel good at all? And you're just telling people that it feels good, or maybe there's some type of denial happening or something, but I don't know. But it cannot feel good to wear yourself out. It can't.
Do you, no, I know you're a feminist.
Yeah.
Do you feel like women were designed to work as long and as hard outside the home as men are?
Absolutely. I think that people confuse physical labor with intellectual labor. I think women are 100% capable and designed to take on a lot of intellectual labor, which is the society we live in now. Most people working sit at a desk all day. What it was before, if women were designed to work all day doing construction work, that would say no, that women are not, physically designed to do construction work all day. But that's different from sitting at a desk all day and doing intellectual work. It's two completely different things. And it's even like something like, I can say that women are not designed to do construction work all day, and I'll get backlash for that. And it's absolutely absurd, because the truth is women don't have the same upper body strength that men have. We just don't have it. It is what it is. Like if we're talking about lower body strength, that's different, because there's no difference in men and women with lower body strength. But upper body strength, it's not even close. It is absurd to try and distort reality in that way. It's just not true.
Yeah. And pound for pound, women are, in terms of lower body strength, it's not that much of a difference.
There really isn't a difference. Lower body, there really isn't a difference. Upper body, there's a difference. And it's okay for us to admit that. Like acting like I can lift something I can't lift is absurd. Like, why would I want to do that?
Why do you even want to?
Why do you even want to? Like when the cat litter gets delivered, I can't lift it. I'm like I can't. Right? I'm like, babe, I can't lift it. I got to bend down and push. I can't lift it up. Right? But it's absurd to even want to.
Do you even lift, bro?
No, shut up. It's like, it's absurd to even want to be able to do that. It's like the other day, the last episode, I think we talked about this a little bit with the leg press. Like, I will take you all day on the leg press, right? I can, and you know that. I can take you all day on the leg press. Okay. Let me finish. No. Listen, I can take you all day on the leg press.
Remember.
No, it's true. I'm being serious. I can take you all day on the leg press. But in terms of like when we're doing...
I was squatting 450 in high school. So I will take you up on that challenge.
Well, we've already done it, but we can do it again. Okay. But like I can take you all day on the leg press.
Okay.
Now, as far as upper body goes, when we're working out together and we're doing curls or whatever, like I'm not using 50s and 40s. Like I remember when I first got past the 10 and I got to 15, I was so excited, right? So then I was like, oh my God, I got to 15. I tried the 20 and my body said, you've lost your mind.
And I was also telling you, hey, chill,
But I'm just saying, like, I got really off track there. But my point is that I feel like feminism has made women feel like the only way to empower and advocate for women is to make us believe that we are exactly the same. And that's not true. We are not exactly the same.
But you guys are good as equal as men.
Well, yeah, but we're not exactly the same. It's absurd to even say that.
Which brings me to, it's similar to how we started, but I think the people watching this will be interested. The other thing, speaking about masculine, we'll go back, but I kind of want to throw this in there. Men complain about independent women and they're always in their masculine and they're always, they need to be more feminine and so on and so forth. But at the same time saying that, boys can't be raised to be men by single moms. Single moms are in their masculine, like literally all the time, are they not?
According to some men, yes.
Yeah. If you can elaborate, in what ways?
Well, I'd have to ask a man that.
Well, okay. So for example, if she's accustomed to paying all her bills, providing for her children, or however many children she has, and being the head of household, right? Once a guy comes in and say, hey, my lead, she may not know how to follow because she's been leading so much.
Okay. So outside of paying bills, what is something else that makes a woman too far into her masculine? Like, what are some of the other traits or behaviors that showed up?
What it is that not knowing the difference. A lot of these podcasts is like women need to know their place and women need to follow a man's lead, which should, but it's like, it doesn't, there's no distinction. It's like anything with a penis must be followed by anything with a vagina, versus like certain men deserve to be followed and certain men should not be followed.
No, I get that. But what are some of the things I'm saying? Like, what are some of the traits or behaviors that makes a woman masculine outside of paying her own bills? What makes her, what?
I think what they're referring to is basically how combative she is, how she's always challenging him, not necessarily willing to cooperate with him. I think that's mainly where it comes from. How assertive she could be. What else? These are things I usually hear. Her demands, like, hey, hey, babe, can you da-da-da-da? I'm not your mama, things like that. Hey, babe, can you cook me a meal? You can go to your mom's house for that, or whatever. Things like that. It's like a lot of guys think like, okay, well, why am I with you? Like, why am I with someone who, so I consider myself old school. I take pride in providing for my family. I take pride in providing for you and taking care of you, right? It's a pride thing, right? The second, I take pride in doing for you. So what happens is I will project that most men do that as well. And so what happens is like, hey, babe, can you make me a meal? It's like a lot of current modern women, they see that as kind of like a beneath them type of thing. So like, hey, make me a sandwich, or hey, cook me a meal. And they're like, no. And then the men are kind of like, what the hell? Like, it's just food. Like, I don't want to go to McDonald's. I don't want to go to get fast food. I don't want to go dine in every day. I'd appreciate it if you can kind of like, make me something. I'd really appreciate that. And also, a lot of women may not notice, but one of the ways that, especially because it's just at this point, majority of the people that we're working with grew up without fathers at home, grew up without seeing a healthy two-parent dynamic, right? So with that said, people who are being raised by single moms most likely saw their single moms cooking for them. And one way that men, I'll say myself, one way that my mother, I assumed, was showing that she loved me is by the meals she made for me. And so that's where the importance, and that's what I guess men aren't saying, that's where the importance of, hey, do you cook, comes from. It's not a thing about do this for me, but it's more so having a plate in front of me brought by my wife, cooked by my wife. I know that not any woman will do this. And the only woman I remember doing this for me was my mother, right? It just makes you feel appreciated and loved and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of men take the time to explain that, right? It's almost like a love language almost, right? And so a lot of women, they are like, this is beneath me. Like, I'm not saving over a stove for no man. While at the same time, where's my stuff? You know what I mean?
Sorry.
So, yeah, bless you. But go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah. It makes sense that men feel some sort of love from that, from his wife or girlfriend cooking for him or whatever. But it's like in that episode we were talking about this. The problem is that men have made things that women do for them beneath men. So
I remember that way.
So you see how you just said men appreciate a meal being cooked for them? Okay, I can understand that. But at the same time, if you appreciate something being done for you, why devalue it in the way that men devalue the things that traditional stay-at-home moms do? They devalue it, and I'll tell you how they devalue it. They devalue it by thinking that working outside the home has more value than working inside the home. So if you think working outside the home has more value than working inside the home, you've stigmatized housework in a way. But it's like you've turned it into something icky, right? You turned it into something that
you stay home all day and I'm out here working all the time. It's like, Got it.
Right? So it's almost like,
and I mean that's rare nowadays, by the way, right? Is it not?
Like of course it's rare.
Yeah.
But that's not.
And that's probably why. Because of that,
it's linked to it.
Mm.
So it's like men do not do a good job of explaining to women why they should work outside of the home the same amount of hours as he's working and do more inside the house.
Because statistically, like you said in the last video, women who not only make as much as men, but make way more than men are still doing more housework or expected to do more housework than men are.
Yeah. Like, how do men justify both of them working outside of the home the same amount of hours, and yet she should still do the majority of the housework? How does he even justify that? Right? How? Like, how does he make that make sense?
He's a man.
Meaning? Right. That's what I'm saying. How does he make that make sense? So it just doesn't make any sense. Because at the end of the day, you hear a lot of men complain too that, oh, once you get married, she stops having sex with you. Well, maybe she's just worn out. You want her to work outside of the house 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, 50, 60, whatever hours, right? Come home, fix your meal, do your laundry, do whatever with the kids, and then be ready to go at the end of the day. That's absurd. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous if you really think about it. You know, like, it's like your question, when you asked me your question, when you said, were women designed to work as much as men? Well, currently women are working more than men. They're working outside the house. They're working inside the house. So they're working more than men now. So it's just,
especially the single moms and everything.
It's just absurd. You know, they're
giving birth to girls who are singing and do everything. So therefore, which I don't need a man.
Yeah. I think men don't take the time to think about these things. You know, they don't take the time to be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Like, why do I have this expectation, you know, that she should work outside the house, split the bills, and do the majority of the housework? It's absurd.
So how, so we spoke about the whole, you know, shallow, you know, women wanting money complaint. Women are too masculine.
But let me say something real quick here. Do you think most men understand that women have the right to state what their expectations are?
Oh yeah,
they do.
Actually, I see. I had to process that a little bit. I don't think they want them to though. This, I think, most dudes will feel. Black men. That's what I'm speaking about. We are already programmed to. You have no feelings. You are not allowed to feel. You're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to whine. You're not allowed to nothing. The only emotion that is accepted, manly enough, is basically anger. You can fight someone. You can, that's it. But anything else, any other, it's like, oh, you're being emotional. You're being female. If you're any other emotion, right? So now, okay, cool. What happens is there are a lot of women that second those talking points. So, for example, we'll hear women saying, men don't want to be open with us. And you'll hear men saying, the second I'm open with her, that becomes ammunition for her to use against me.
Okay.
And I hear that all the time. Oh, that's why you blah, blah, that's why you're broke just like your daddy or something. Or that's why you didn't get that from, like, they will literally go there. Like, and one thing I've also noticed, because I'm in another group chat with like a bunch of people with both men and women, I noticed a trend that whenever women want to mock men, it's always straight to their sexuality. They always go to, oh, that's sus, or that's kind of gay, and this, that, and the other, right? It's almost as if like that's the first place they go, which in my opinion, that's actually offending gay people because gay people do exist. So, but it's like that's the first thing they go to. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is I'm almost certain if I had to poll a majority of men, that does your significant other or their past girlfriends or wives or ex-wives, how often do you feel like they validated how you felt, or they expressed remorse for something that you said they did wrong without them turning it towards something that you did or you couldn't have done or gaslight you per se.
Yeah. I think there's a few things there. So first, when we're talking about feelings, do you think most men would say most men don't talk to each other about their feelings? Do you agree with that statement?
I would agree.
Okay. So do you think most men know how to express their feelings to other people?
I do not.
Okay. So we have to first start at the base that we know that most men were not taught how to express their feelings to anybody, to each other, to women, to anyone. So now when you put that man in a relationship and he says, oh, whenever I express my feelings, we have to ask ourselves, if he doesn't know how to express his feelings, how is he expressing them in his relationship?
Yeah.
We have to first start there, because if he already doesn't even know how to do it, is he doing it in a healthy manner in his relationship? Right? Because chances are he's not. Because a healthy manner means you stated a feeling word. I feel disrespected. I feel angry. I feel sad. I feel helpless. I feel inadequate. I feel happy. I feel surprised. You know, that's what sharing and expressing your feeling is. That is very different from personally attacking your partner. Right? So I do believe that most men will say women don't validate their feelings. But will most men recognize that they are not even expressing their feelings? Because if they were never taught how to do it, how are they doing it?
Were women taught how to express their feelings?
More so than men, for sure. Yeah, but not because of how they were raised necessarily. Because women tend to have friends where, okay, so I'll put it to you this way. So if, let's say for me, for example, I wasn't taught how to express my feelings at all, right? In any way, shape, or form, okay? So, but if a woman wasn't taught how to express her feelings, she is likely going to have at least one friend who was taught how to express her feelings. And women, when you're around women often enough, you learn to express your feelings. Does that, if you're following what I'm saying? Now, when you take men, when the majority of men were not taught how to express their feelings, it's unlikely that any man is going to have another man in his circle that knows how to express his feelings.
Without being called,
without being whatever. Yeah. So where would he learn it from? So I hear when men say that women don't validate their feelings, or women deflect, or they this or they that. But at the same time, do most men recognize that? Are they aware that they weren't ever even taught how to express their feelings? And if they were never taught how to do it, why are you so certain that that's what you're doing in your relationship?
Got it.
I just be curious, right? Because what are you expressing exactly?
Because I can't really imagine, like, my homeboy saying, when you, I feel.
Right.
Like, I mean, I can't really imagine that. Yeah.
But if you're in a relationship and you're saying you're expressing your feelings, that's what you're doing. You're saying, what's something that men complain about that women do in relationships? Like, give me one.
One that's popular. She could be too materialistic, or she doesn't clean the car. Or
cleaning the car.
Yeah, it's like
okay.
That. What else is there? I feel like I'm drawing a blank. They raise the kids the way they want to and not like allow him to have input on how to raise the kids. What else? Yeah, like materialism. They compare themselves to other couples. Never hearing words of appreciation or affirmation. That's like, number one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with that.
Let's go with that. Oh my God,
yeah.
You're handsome, or you make me feel safe, or you make me feel secure. Like,
okay. So
black men do not hear those words.
So
ever.
Yeah.
But they also, go ahead.
So let's go with that.
Yeah.
A man wants to hear more words of affirmation from his wife. He wants to hear, I appreciate you for this. I love this
or
about
girlfriend,
you.
Or whatever.
Does that, whatever, right? How would he go about expressing that to his partner?
I don't think he does. I think what happens is he feels a certain way. He's on YouTube. He finds a YouTube short that says women need to take more accountability, or women never get it, or fellas, your feelings don't matter. He clicks on it. He gets he's in his feels.
Yeah.
And he gets his, dopamine hit of someone agreeing with him. And then he keeps it to himself, type of thing. And he goes online and talks about it. Women don't care about your feelings, fellas. So focus on your focus on your money and da 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 da.
In that case, what happened to the male assertiveness? Because assertiveness would be going straight to your partner and saying, "Hey, babe, like, I feel loved when you tell me the things you appreciate about me." Right? That's also direct and assertive.
It is, but we never tell.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. How can she give you something you're not even asking for? And when I say asking for, I mean directly asking for, not just dropping hints, right? I mean like directly going and telling her what you're asking for. How often do men do that?
If I had to guess, I would say very often.
Okay, well, how can our needs be met if we're not asking for them to be met?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
So I think it's important for men to learn how to express what their needs are to their partner. And part of the issue is that most men weren't even taught to even recognize what their needs are beyond sex. Right? So that's a huge problem. But when it comes down to the actual relationship, when they're in it, they start to feel like, oh, something's off here, I'm missing something, but they can't even name what it is a lot of times. If sex is still happening, he can still feel like something's missing, but he might not even know how to express
it
or even identify what it is that he feels is missing. Yeah, because men aren't taught to pay attention to what their needs are in relationship beyond sex, right?
As long as you're getting sex, you're good.
Yeah.
That's all the point is.
And that's the only thing that I need is sex. So if you're telling women the only thing you need is sex, if you're getting sex, stop complaining. Stop complaining and saying, you don't tell me good things about myself. You said all that you need is sex. And there you have it, right?
Yes. I must push back now.
Okay.
So it seems like women complain, hey, he doesn't blah, blah, blah. Well, men, here's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Men complain that she doesn't blah, blah, blah. Well, men, here's what you need to do.
Okay.
So what about the women? Like, so again, for knowing that we were not taught these things, right? So again, we don't know what we don't know.
Okay.
We do know that, bam, like, I feel unappreciated. Said 95% of Black men who are, trying to, who are doing the right thing, right? I don't feel like wanted or appreciated, right? You're going to say, well, it's his responsibility to do the work and da-da-da and so on and so forth.
Because it is.
Yes, but if, like you were saying before, if you don't know that you're not doing something, how do you know to put work in it? All you know is that, man, like, because I'm just saying, keeping at a practical, right? If I were to do a poll, fellas in relationships, when was the last time you heard your girlfriend or wife or significant other, right? That's a woman, I'm assuming, say things like, you make me feel safe. I want you. You make me feel protected, or you're a mate, whatever, all those things. I'm almost certain the poll overall would be like, I don't remember ever being told that.
I agree with you.
But then what the pushback from you would be like, well, if men's love language, which honestly, I think men are programmed to think physical touch is their love language. And even I had to learn this. And I realized, like, no, words of affirmation is my love language. Like, verbal support from you can make me do things that I didn't even know I was capable of doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I mean, I have confidence in myself, but damn, I don't know I was capable of that. Like, there's this is off topic, but there's like this meme that shows this basketball player. I mean, you might not know he's Jordan Poole. Basically, where he's playing basketball and then he spots some women on the court that are looking at him, and all of a sudden he starts playing crazy. Right? And like the motivation goes through the roof and everything, right? It's kind of like what you said before. When men feel like they're important to their significant others and they have a purpose and she needs him, his testosterone goes up. She thinks I'm the man. Maybe I am the man. I am the man. And now I'm going to act upon that. Versus him hearing nags and you're not da-da-da-da is like defeating him. So again, my question is, I understand, okay, men need to do the work on their daughter. I understand.
Okay.
What are the women supposed to do in the situation?
Well, again,
because the women have heard it too.
Okay, like we spoke, right? Like we were talking about. If women nag, that means that women are stating what their needs are. So to answer your question, the reason why I'm not talking about the women is because women don't generally have issue with it, with saying, hey, I need this, I need that. Like they generally don't have issue. Not talking about every woman, right? But in general, women don't tend to have an issue with demanding for their needs to be met, which is why men say women complain too much, women nag them too much, right? Because they're demanding what their needs are. They're saying, hey, I need this need to be met. So to answer your question, that's why I'm not talking about the women, right? Because the women are the ones stating directly, hey, I need this from you. I need that from you. I need you to be more romantic. I need you to take me out on more dates. I need you to be more adventurous. Women are saying these things. Okay. It's the men that are not saying these things, which is why I'm talking specifically about the men. Did I answer your question?
Yes and no. Okay. What I'm trying to ask is, because we're talking about men again.
Well, yeah, I have to.
I understand. We got that. I got the part that men need to do.
Okay.
What I am asking is, okay, you also mentioned that it's silly when, another complaint, where women expect men to read their minds.
Yeah. Neither partner should expect their partner to read their mind. Right. Because expecting your partner to read your mind is a way of avoiding vulnerability, whether you're a man or a woman. So when you ask me what should the women do in order for the man's need to get met, I don't know how to answer that question, because the only answer to that would be she needs to learn how to mind read. So I wouldn't even know how to answer that question, right? How would I even answer that question? What do the women need to do in order for the man's needs to get met? I don't even know how to answer that question.
No, I hear you. I guess I'm more speaking about the words that men don't necessarily hear. And it could be that they didn't hear that from their mothers or so on and so forth. Like, I'm proud of you. Yeah. And, I need, you're needed. I don't know, things like that.
Yeah. So men need to state what their needs are. They have to say it in their relationship. And that doesn't mean that I'm saying women don't have to say what their needs are. I'm just talking about the women, because men know that the women are the ones that complain and nag. Therefore, they're the ones demanding for their needs to be met. So it's pointless for me to tell women to do that more, right? Yeah. I'm saying that men also need to directly say what their needs are in their relationship, right? And if they're saying the only need they have is sex, well then, what do you want anyone else to do about that? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what is the expectation? I can't teach women how to mind read, right? And even when we have that expectation that our partner reads our minds, where that comes from is, like we were saying before, possibly an unmet childhood need, because it was our parents' responsibility to be so attuned to our needs that they could read our minds. It's a parent's responsibility to do that for their child, right? To be like, oh, babe, what's wrong? What do you need? I think you need this. I think you need some rest. I think, let me make you something to eat. You look a little tired. Like it's a parent's job to be that attuned to what their child might need, right? But it's not your partner's job to be that attuned, right? Over time, as your relationship goes on and you know your partner better, then you can quote unquote slightly read their mind, because you can kind of guess, when she does this, she needs this. When he does that, he needs that, right? But no matter how long two people are together, they should never have the expectation that their partner can read their mind, because it's just a way of avoiding vulnerability, a way of avoiding directly saying, this is what I need from you. This is what I need in our relationship, right? So, did I answer your question? Because
I have another. The question again is, because I understand the logical answer, but grace, I don't know if grace has anything to do with logic. So it's like, girlfriends, men have to give women grace when they're on their cycle, because they may be emotionally all over the place. Yeah. Men have to give women grace when they're pregnant, because they might, again, hormones all over the place, right? Okay, cool. Now, the woman can also do her own work and regulate her. She can do it, and I get that.
That's two different things.
I know. Hold on. I'm just trying to show you an example, like about grace, right? Like, there's nothing that, she's hormonal, so it's going to alter the way she is mentally.
Yeah.
Now, there are things she can do. I guess I think she can. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is the other end is men were not given these tools.
Understood.
So where's the grace? In other words, a woman watching this has a boyfriend. I just said things that I'm almost certain she does not tell him because that's stereotypically how the Black community works, right? In fact, even stereotypically, when you see TV shows or when you hear like an old Black couple that's been together for a while, go observe them having dinner. They literally don't talk to each other. They just like one looks this way, one looks that way. They eat, they go home, right? You know what I mean? So it's like they're not really conversing like that. So what I'm saying is the couple that, again, like the Black women who are hearing what I'm saying, that like, damn, I don't think I've ever told him I appreciate him. I don't think I ever told him how amazing I think he is. I don't think I ever told him da. Which again, could that be vulnerability? Like, sure. But hearing, I'm telling you, men will say like overwhelmingly, like that's like really big to them.
I understand that.
What can women learn from that? And like, I get it. Both men and women have to do their work, but we also need to give each other grace.
Well, yeah, but the grace is given. The grace just doesn't allow us to read people's minds, though. That's the thing. The grace is given. Nevertheless, giving somebody grace doesn't give us the power to read their minds. So now, can women go and just him not have to say, "Hey, babe, this is what I need," and she can go and say, "Hey, babe, today I appreciate you for XYZ. I love it when you XYZ. I desire you when you ABC, whatever." She absolutely can do that, right? And she should do that. At the same time, there's no part of me that's going to coddle men and keep them in a space where they remain in a space of invulnerability, where they are not learning to take that leap to go to their partner and say, "Hey, babe, this is what I need from you." Because I expect men to be able to go to their partner and say, "Hey, babe, this is what I need from you." Right? So yes, absolutely. If you're a woman listening to this, go to your man and say, "Hey, babe, I appreciate XYZ. I love it when you ABC. I want you so much when you blah, blah, blah." By all means, do it. But I want every man listening to hear when I say it is crucial that he learns how to express his needs to his partner. Verbally, not sending hints, not, being passive about it, but directly going to her and say, "Hey, babe, I need this, I need that, I need this, and I need that in order for me to feel happy in our relationship, in order for me to feel satisfied in our relationship," right? He needs to learn how to do that. Right? Putting the burden on women to read his mind is not the way to go. He needs to open his mouth and he needs to directly state what he needs in his relationship. And I would say the same thing to a woman. Open your mouth and directly state what you need in your relationship. Right? Because we can't read people's minds. Right?
And I guess the fear in that is you open your mouth and you might get rejected or it might not happen.
And you might. And it might not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's still what you need, right?
Yeah.
And I totally get that, but they should directly go and tell their partner what it is that they need from their relationship. They absolutely should. He absolutely should go to his wife or girlfriend and say, "Babe, like," and there's also nothing wrong with him asking and going to her and saying, "Babe, what was the last thing I did for you that you loved?" Or, "Babe, what was the last thing I did for you that you really appreciated?" He can do that as well, right? So.
And it feels like you're fishing for compliments or whatever. But again, it's vulnerability.
But that's what I'm saying. We're trying to avoid the vulnerability.
Yeah, both men, women.
And then just expect, our partners to read our minds. And it's not a healthy dynamic when you're in a relationship with someone who expects you to read their mind. It just really isn't. So. Okay.
Well, I appreciate the conversation. We covered a lot of topics. We kind of were a little bit all over the place, but I think, again, what I was wanting to bring forth was some of the complaints that I've heard from our clients, from group texts, from single men that we've spoken to, and what they're dealing with out there, and hopefully can bring some. I hope we can validate those men's feelings and also bring to some awareness to our the female side of our couples and our female singles, so they can maybe bring it to their awareness that, hey, men have feelings too. We're just trained not to express them. And so, we may need a little bit of help or a little bit of a push per se to kind of get those out. But overall, I think I like today's episode. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, yeah, it was a good conversation. I will say one thing. I'm going to say this in closing, but I've noticed that a lot of times the expectation that I can put on men to do better can come across to men like I think that women are perfect.
Yes.
And that is not what it is. I put the expectations on men because as I've said before, my personal value is that I believe that the man should be the head of his household, right? And when you're the head of anything, you shoulder the burden of responsibility, right? And I'm not saying every man wants to be the lead of his relationship or his family, and I don't think every man has to be. I don't believe that at all. I'm just speaking to the ones who have that expectation. You have to understand that you have to get comfortable with responsibility, right? And not pointing the finger, what about the other person? You can't control the other person's behavior, the other person's actions. You can control yourself, your own behavior, your own actions. I don't believe women are perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that I'm kind of over men complaining about what about the women while also saying men should lead. If you should lead, stop asking what about them. It doesn't make any sense. Focus on what you can control. Your own behavior, your own actions. That's what you can focus on. You don't need to focus on her, right? Focus on yourself and see what happens. That's all that I'm saying.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We should have another episode coming through next week, and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.